Well, if you've got a garden, this is definitely not the weather you want to see. Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So, it's mid-April, and it's kind of one of those things where we built this raised bed, and it was 80 degrees that whole week. We knew it was going to cool off this weekend, which is to like today and tomorrow, but it wasn't supposed to cool off as bad as it's cooling off now. So we went from, it was supposed to get down to about 40, which I was like, okay, cool, let's plant the strawberries in, we should be okay. Now it's going to get down to 28 degrees, and they're calling for between 2 and 6 inches of snow. So yeah, time for plan B. So essentially, we picked up some boards, we'll lay the boards across, and then I'll cover up with like a frost blanket, see how this goes. If it winds up working out, you guys will get a really good view of like what the plants look like after. But you can kind of see right now, these are kind of young looking plants. Some of them have like a little bit of weirdness going on with them. So, which they had that weirdness to begin with. It was kind of one of those things where we were wondering why there wasn't too many strawberries for sale, and I think now I know why. So it's a little early to really be planting strawberries unless you're growing them somewhere where it's a little bit more climate controlled, or like a greenhouse kind of setup. So, but most of them are doing pretty good. I'm gonna wind up taking off all the little blossoms and all the little fruits, because with it getting that cold, it can damage them, and I'd rather not have the plant focusing on those little pieces when it can be just focusing on surviving. I got most of them. I did leave a couple of small ones on there just to kind of see, but it feels really counterintuitive to do this, because then you're like, well, wait, what about the strawberries? So these are all ever-bearing strawberries, so essentially they should do like a harvest in June and another harvest later in the year, and you kind of want to let them build up and grow stronger. That way they're able to do better later in the year and kind of skip that first harvest. Then as far as the frost blanket goes, it's just this master garden. Picked it up at Menards. It's 5 feet by 30 feet. It's supposed to help protect plants from frost damage. And I think on the website it was saying that it could protect it up to like 8 degrees or increase by 8 degrees. So no guarantees really. It's pretty thin. And then I got some bungee cord just to help super secure it, because it's Minnesota, so it's going to be windy. But this also comes with 10 landscape staples to also attach it. And then a simple bungee cord trick: if you're going to be attaching multiple bungees together, don't actually hook to hook. Put one of the hooks through like the base of the other one's hooks. That way these all stay together, and you don't have to worry about chasing stuff that's continually unhooking. So all these will stay together as you go to try and set it up. Alright, so Christmas color bungees are in place. So that one should be all good to go. I've got 2 landscape stakes there and there. So hopefully if something happens, those pull out of the mulch somehow. This will at least hold it in place. It's not super tight, but it's tight enough. And then just because part of me is like really worried about it, I'm gonna go ahead and double the layers. So instead of just one, it'll have 2 layers. And with the last little bit, I trimmed off. That way I didn't have a whole big old tail flopping around, and use it to cover up the potatoes in the 15-gallon grow bags. So be interested to see how this winds up turning out. And so far so good. So still pretty visible. You can still kind of see through it. You can't see it quite so good on camera and stuff like that, but like the human eye and stuff, it sees pretty good. And then very little snow is actually sitting on top of it. All right, so this did pretty good. So the double layer over the top, snow is just a little bit sitting on it. And then it's supposed to be kind of a bright sunshiny, but still only like a 48-degree day, but 27 degrees tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull some of the boards out. That way some of the sun gets down through. Instead of having a double layered, I'm going to go back to a single layer. And then morning number 2, you can kind of see grass and mulch is all frosty. We went back to the double layer that night. Little bit of frost on top of the double layer. No frost on the single layer. And no frost in the plants inside. And one last little trick from watching the YouTube video and stuff like that is to add a heat source. So tonight it's supposed to get really, really cold. So we're talking like 22, 23 degrees and stuff like that. So the video I saw, they actually talked about, throwing in a light set. So like incandescent, kind of like Christmas lights. So ones that are meant to be outside. So because they're already waterproof and they'll actually generate a little bit of heat. So I've got those going in tonight. Everything's pretty much survived pretty well. There's a couple spots like on this one, which I think this one was already a little bit messed up, but most all of the rest of them are perfectly fine. So I'd be curious if maybe that one was touching the frost cloth and got a little bit of frostbite. So, but I've got 3 strings of lights kind of ran through here, so hopefully that'll be good enough for heat. So right now it's pretty chilly. It's in like the low 40s, maybe like high 30s right now. So I'm gonna get these covered up, lay this over, and we should be all good to go. The lights have been in there running for about 2 hours, and I've noticed that some little places where we had some ice is starting to melt. So real quick, let's take a quick peek at what temperature this outside fabric is. So looks like a little bit above freezing. That's colder than freezing. So outer layer of fabric, pretty chilly. Then as a test, let's see the board. Ooh, that board is cold. And now inner layer fabric. Looks like that's 33, 34, 35 degrees. So doing pretty good. And now let's go inside. So this is objects that this reads. This doesn't read air temp. So it looks like plants doing pretty good. So definitely above freezing. And it's cold enough that there's still a little bit of snow there and a little bit of snow up there. So definitely still pretty chilly out here. So in hindsight, maybe we shouldn't have used the Halloween lights in there. Makes for a little bit of a spooky strawberry patch. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll check you next time.